Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing, Inc.
CARICOM leaders say they've got the formula to keep the CSME thriving and surviving. That's our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Wednesday, December 5th. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Nicole Best. Good evening. CARICOM leaders ended a two-day special summit late Tuesday night, convinced that they had developed an improved formula for ensuring the survival of the CARICOM single market and economy, the CSME. The CSME allows for the free movement of goods, skills, labor and services across the region. Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness, who chaired the two-day meeting, described the deliberations as being intense, frank and decisive. He said the leaders had all recommitted to ensuring the CSME's successful implementation.
We have just concluded 2 days of intense and frank and decisive discussions on the CARICOM single market and economy, during which we all recommitted to ensuring its successful implementation. We have fashioned a path forward for advancing its implementation in a manner that can be measured and for which we can all be held accountable. Critically, the dialogue we had with representatives of the private sector and labor yesterday morning was of immense value, and we were quite pleased to hear their strong commitment to making the CSME work.
Holness said the meeting called for member states to take decisive actions to transform the CSME into a facility that will truly serve the interests of Caribbean people. And he says the issues raised encouraged vibrant discussions and helped the leaders to focus on the real challenges and opportunities in the integration movement.
We had an in-depth look at what member states were required to do to advance the CSME and sought to establish timelines for implementation. We have agreed to expand the categories of skilled workers who are free to move within the CSME space. And this expansion would now include agricultural workers, security guards, beauticians, and barbers. These are positive developments for our people and matters which we have been championing for some time. We consider the implementation plan for Haiti's full participation in the CSME, and we welcome the assistance that that country will receive from the European Development Fund in their efforts to become compliant with the measures to ensure that they can participate in the CSME.
Also coming out of that meeting, CARICOM leaders expressed disappointment at the flow of information within the 15-member grouping. And according to Barbados' Prime Minister Mia Mottley, they have agreed to establish a working group to examine the situation. Mottley did not indicate whether the performance of the Barbados-based Caribbean Media Corporation, which produces a nightly program on regional events and provides a daily wire service, had come under scrutiny during the two-day CARICOM meeting. But informed sources told CMC News the need to mobilize funds to support the regional media network had been discussed.
You can probably tell me what went on in New York today, or what went on in Iowa, or what went on in Texas, But you can't tell me what went on in Belmopan. You can't tell me what went on in Kingston. Or you can't tell me what went on in Kingstown. And we have, therefore, to ensure that Caribbean people have access to real-time information. We need to move it to that stage. We have to ensure that the decisions that we take at the level of governments or at the level of regional institutions are shared. Because access to information is what drives people's decisions. And our citizens need that information in order to decide what they plan to do at the individual level and what they plan to do at the level of business.
The Belize government maintains it will not heed a call by the main opposition People's United Party, the PUP, for the country to postpone a referendum on whether to take its border dispute with Guatemala to the International Court of Justice, the ICJ. Belize is due to hold the referendum on April 10th next year, and opposition leader John Briceño has called on Prime Minister Dean Barrow to postpone the referendum. He has suggested a date after the 2020 general election. But Foreign Minister Wilfred Elrington tells CMC News the government will not be putting off the vote.
We have an ongoing public education program. We think the time is sufficient for us to do what we need to do. But the question of the date of the referendum is not a matter which we can determine unilaterally. It's a matter which we have to agree with the other side, Guatemala, and we did in fact take some time to arrive at the new date. Once it's agreed between us both, we can't unilaterally resign from the review. And the Prime Minister and the government of Belize is not disposed to so.
Elrington believes the PUP's call for a postponement is nothing more than an attempt to score political points regarding the centuries-old border dispute.
At the very outset, the opposition took the view that they should carry through this process, not our government. And so they made earlier statements suggesting that the society should wait until they come into government and then go resolve the matter at the court with the Guatemalans. So it's not a new position they're taking.
The Belize foreign minister told CMC News that Belize and Guatemala have a cordial relationship, and he says there has been no significant change in the behavior of the Guatemalans toward the Belizeans in the last 10 years. On referendum day, Belizeans will simply answer yes or no to the question if this ICJ should decide on the territorial, maritime and insular claim from Guatemala over Belizean territory. Guatemala held its referendum on April 15th with a resounding yes to take the matter to the ICJ. The Caribbean Court of Justice, the CCJ, says 2018 was an historic year as the court issued a record 34 judgments and reasonings for decisions. The CCJ was established in 2001 to replace the London-based Privy Council as the region's final court, but officially began operations in 2005. Noting that the court's term ends on December 17th, it said that throughout the period, the CCJ also heard 28 new matters in both its original and its appellate jurisdictions. Its last hearing for the year was on Wednesday, involving a case from Barbados in which Ronaldo Aline, who was convicted of manslaughter after 6 young women died when a store was firebombed during a robbery in 2010, is appealing his 6 concurrent life sentences. The CCJ is also preparing for the staging of its 5th biennial conference to be held in Jamaica from December 13th. At least 3 people died and 44 others injured in a major explosion at a plastics company in the Dominican Republic's capital, Santo Domingo, on Wednesday. Mayor David Collado said a fire began when a boiler exploded at the Polypass company but has been contained. Maria Gomez, a spokeswoman for the country's National Health Service, said 13 children who were at school in front of the company were among the injured. 3 adults were also in critical condition with 2nd and 3rd degree burns. Gomez said the injured were being treated at several hospitals in the capital. And still to come in Caribbean Newsline, the Bahamas Prime Minister denies downplaying concerns of workers in the country. The details after the break. Do stay with us.
exceptional fun, meet amazing people, enjoy fantastic food, and rock the nights away to world-class music at the 23rd Annual St. Kitts Music Festival. 3 nights of musical entertainment from the 27th to the 29th of June 2019. Book now and save the date. For more information, log on to stkittsmusicfestival.net. St. Kitts Music Festival, an experience like no other.
Shower in the morning, shower in the evening, or take a fresh at night. Enjoy a warm shower with Solar Dynamics, you feel alright. Comfort, safety, temperature guaranteed. Long service, fulfilling your every need. Take a shower in comfort, no more ups with water touch you. Solar Dynamics is the best for you. Save on electricity, be environmentally friendly. Solar Dynamics is the one for you.
The Bahamas' Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis has denied that he was downplaying workers' concerns when he told journalists that he was not worried about the possibility of a general strike in the country. And he had also told reporters that he was more concerned whether this Christmas the Saxons would win Jean Canoe, a street parade with music, dance and costumes. But in response to severe criticism on social media and elsewhere over what was seen as a flippant statement in light of ongoing industrial actions by doctors, Minnis said he was merely seeking to engage the media in a moment of light humor. The Office of the Prime Minister Tuesday night issued a statement insisting that he was not seeking to make light of the labor issues. We get the details in this report.
Despite some union leaders calling Monday's meeting with the Prime Minister little more than a courtesy call, Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis insisted on Tuesday he is not concerned that the industrial unrest could lead to a national strike. In fact, Minnis called those meetings productive and joked he is more concerned about the upcoming Jean Canoe parade results.
And any worries of a national strike?
No. I'm more worried about other matters.
And the Prime Minister did not stop there.
I'm more worried right now and concerned whether the Saxons going to win Jean Canoe Christmas. That's what I'm gearing up for. You pull for us, don't you?
Thank you.
You're not a Saxon?
I don't want to comment on that.
Dr. Minnis was responding to some union leaders who told the press on Monday they were not satisfied with their meeting with the Prime Minister. More than 40 leaders from 30 unions met with Minnis and Minister of Labor Dion Folks. Folks said the meeting went very well and that he was very pleased that the leaders had accepted an invitation to meet with the government. However, some of the union heads expressed doubt that their issues would be resolved. When asked about those concerns, the Prime Minister said this.
It was very informative. I obtained a lot of information that I had gathered from them. I will inform my Labour Minister to meet with the relevant unions so as to deal with the matters. Some of the problems go way back 15 years, I wasn't even here. And then I'm saddled with 15 years of problems, but so be it, we had a cap, so my Labour Minister, I'll ask him to do. And then they had other concerns with respect to boards and agencies, how they were functioning. And I will ask the relevant ministers to speak to their chairmen of the various boards so that you can have better communication.
Meantime, a meeting with the executives of the Consultants, Physicians, Staff Association and the Financial Secretary has been postponed to Wednesday. The CPSA, which represents 130 consultant physicians, withdrew their labor last week, forcing Princess Margaret Hospital to cancel all non-emergency services. The Prime Minister says his administration is currently looking to see if there is any wiggle room in the budget to meet their requests.
President of the Grenada Trades Union Council, Andre Lewis, has described the government's new offer on pension and gratuity to retiring public workers as worse than what was offered before. Lewis, who is also a Labour Movement representative in the Senate and President General of the Technical and Allied Workers Union, told the Senate on Wednesday that though he was unable to share the details of the new offer, the union body sees it as being worse than the previous offer. Lewis was making his contribution to the debate on the 2019 national budget, and he sought to give the assurance that the unions would be attending Friday's meeting to continue negotiations for an acceptable package for retiring public officers. Earlier this week, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell said he remains confident that an agreement would be reached with the trades unions regarding the payment of the pension and gratuity. The unions, including the Public Workers Union, the PWU, are seeking a 25% wage payment, but the government has said that it cannot meet such an increase, offering instead a 2% hike. Since November 5, public officers have engaged in sporadic industrial protests that resulted in workers either embarking on work to rule or taking to the streets in support of their unions' demands. And in Jamaica, a report of an investigation conducted by the Office of the Auditor General into the state-owned oil refinery Petrojam has outlined a series of lavish parties and unapproved sponsorships, as well as glaring human resources breaches costing millions of dollars. The findings of the Auditor General were tabled in the House of Representatives on Tuesday. The report warned that bad management practices, if left unresolved, would increase the risk of corruption and further erode Petrojam's profitability, which has declined over the last 3 years. The probe found that although liquidity levels were inadequate to cover Petrojam's obligations, the state-owned company made questionable payments related to procurement activities, had significant project cost overruns, and overspent on donations. The Auditor General's report noted that management spent $2.6 million to host 2 birthday parties, which were unrelated to its operations and did not conform to good corporate practices. Well, the government of Jamaica plans to take the business of public sector to a whole new level. That's public sector management. It has organized a series of training workshops for officials from the finance ministry and the banking sector to begin later this month. The details in this week's Newsline Business.
Newsline Business is brought to you by Solar Dynamics.
The Institute of Capacity Development, the ICD, which is part of the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, is to conduct a 5-day training workshop on strengthening macroeconomic framework skills. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark said the customized training is part of the Jamaica government's strategy to scale up the indigenous macro-fiscal expertise of the ministry and to strengthen the overall macroeconomic management of the economy. He says the training will be followed by further capacity building exercises. The government says the workshop is a demonstration of its commitment to develop the capacity to independently design and analyze fiscal policies using appropriate macroeconomic models. The workshop will be conducted by a senior technical team from the ICD, and that's going to begin on December 10th and will be attended by representatives from the Ministry of Finance, the Bank of Jamaica, the Planning Institute of Jamaica, and the Auditor General's Department.
Newsline Business was brought to you by Solar Dynamics.
Shower in the morning, shower in the evening, or take a fresh at night. Enjoy a warm shower with Solar Dynamics, you'll feel alright. Comfort, safety, temperature guaranteed. Long service, fulfilling your every need. Take a shower in comfort, no more ups with water touch you. Solar Dynamics is the best for you. Save on electricity, be environmentally friendly. Solar Dynamics is the one for you.
And ahead in Newsline Sport, Jamaica Scorpions get a new captain. We'll tell you who after the break.
What does the president want, Ambassador? What does President Trump? What is his end game?
Well, I don't know what in the world of everything what he wants. I do know that he wants to appoint good judges. And
I'm talking about in terms of the Mueller investigation. Let's stay here. What is he actually? What is the outcome that he's seeking? Because listen, he wasted no time letting Sessions go. I'm sure that letter was sitting in his desk for the last 6 months.
Barbados. Renowned for its pristine beachfront and fantastic weather, continues to leave quite an impression on newcomers to the island and returning visitors. The Caribbean island, quite popular as a vacation hotspot, is not only beautiful due to its natural aesthetics. The island of Barbados continues to grow in popularity because of unique connections developed with our people, our culture. We can't wait to welcome you.
Jamaica Scorpions will open their professional cricket league season with a new captain. Paul Palmer Jr. will once again lead the Scorpions after Nikita Miller opted out of this season. They play against Barbados Pride in their opening fixture on December 13th. In this report from TVJ's Renato Brown, head coach Robert Samuels reveals there will be two newcomers in the squad, pacer Jermaine Levy and Barbadian off-spinner Kenroy Williams.
Months after former captain Nikita Miller announced that he will be walking away from the job, Jamaica Scorpions officials have once again named Paul Palmer Jr. as the man to lead the team. Palmer will take up the role for the second time, having been appointed captain in 2015. The former St. Elizabeth technical standout had only played 2 first-class matches for the combined campuses and colleges before being named captain in his first season with the team. A poor run, which started with a golden duck on debut, saw the left-hander dropped after 7 rounds. Since then, Palmer has gone on to score 3 half-centuries and a century at an average of 21.27. Meanwhile, pacer Jermaine Levy, who plays for the Southern Seas in the JCA Super League, and Barbadian off-spinner Kenroy Williams are the new faces in the squad.
We're going down there with a newcomer, Jermaine Levy. He has been in Barbados at school at Kville for the last 4 to 5 years, and he's come back and doing fairly decent, fairly well bowling with some pace in the local competition, and that plays at the Super League on the weekend, and he has been selected because of that.
The squad is completed by John Campbell, Chadwick Walton, Jermaine Blackwood, Andre McCarthy, Stephen Taylor, Aldane Thomas, Dennis Bolai, Nikita Miller, Derval Green, and Reynard Leverage. And Samuels, who is in his 3rd season as head coach, has concerns over the batting department, but says he has seen signs of improvement.
I see some changes in the players. I see they look a little bit more determined. Players want to make it to the West Indies team, which is good. Jermaine Blackwood wants to get back up there. Andre McCarthy wants to get up there. John Campbell, who I believe should be there, I'm hoping that he wants to get there badly enough to put his head down and bat. Too often we see John getting to 50, getting a half-century and then getting out. He has to start converting those 50s into 100s, and I think West Indies would find favor in him. So.
In the meantime, JCA CEO Courtney Francis says there are no immediate plans of appointing a sports psychologist to help improve players' concentration.
Well, as at this time, the resources does not suffice for us to get a professional in on board, but it is something that you'd have to work with what you have. And so Coach Samuels, along with the other management team, have to maybe put on drills and having one-on-one with the players to try and get them to the level that they can concentrate well enough for them to survive at this level. I mean, they're not playing for the first year, and they know the resources are very stretched, so they have to use what they have now to get the best out of the players.
The Jamaica Scorpions finished 4th on the 4-day table last season, behind the Guyana Jaguars, who were claiming their 4th straight title.
Defending regional 4-day champions Guyana Jaguars will begin their campaign for a 5th consecutive title on Thursday when they face Windward Islands Volcanoes at the Darren Sammy Stadium in St. Lucia. The Jaguars are riding high on a 10-game unbeaten streak, having not lost a match since the final game of the 2016-2017 season when they were beaten by the Leeward Islands Hurricanes and St. Kitts. They will be without Windies players Shimron Hetmeyer, Devendra Bishu, Kimo Paul, Shandapal Hemraj, Raymond Reefer and Sherfain Rutherford. Ahead of the match, Captain Leon Johnson said the absence of the Windies players will give their replacements a chance to prove themselves. He said, and I quote, "I'm quietly confident going into this season as defending champions with a team which has dominated regional 4-day for the last 4 seasons, but everybody starts at 0. All the teams are on 0. All batters and bowlers are on 0. Come Thursday, we can't take it for granted that we could just turn up and win games. We have to go through a process, and we have to be patient, as we usually are, and play consistent cricket, which has been our strength." End of quote. Johnson played the last of his 9 tests in 2016, and he has led his team in 42 games, winning 27 times and losing only 5. Still in cricket, Trinidad and Tobago wicketkeeper batsman Amir Jangu is banking on a good performance in this season of the PCL to cement his spot in the West Indies A team. TV6's Vinod Nawani spoke with the cricketer while he was in training ahead of the Trinidad and Tobago Red Force opening clash against the Windward Island Volcanoes.
Wicketkeeper batsman Amir Jangu was part of the successful CCC team that won this year's Regional Super 50. Now he's back with TNT Red Force for the new 4-day season.
Oh, I'm definitely prepared. Obviously playing 1 season already for the Red Force team. It's a really good experience, and I hope to gain all the lessons I've learned from last season and bring it into this season.
Having scored 490 runs for the Red Force last season with 3 half-centuries, Jangu wants to get more runs than that in the 2018-2019 tournament and possibly even become the highest run getter for his side. From the way you're sounding, it seems as if you're ready to make the West Indies team in time to come.
Oh, definitely. I think that's one of my major goals, probably make a West Indies A team. So some good performances in the 4-day tournament and probably more opportunities can open up to me.
What have you been doing in terms of practice? And that goes with both bat and gloves.
Oh, definitely. I'll be putting in a lot of work. We have been training really hard here at the cricket center. I'll also be doing a lot of work with the university that I go to in St. Augustine. So yeah, a lot of hard work being put in. So hopefully I'll reap the rewards.
Should he play in the opening game against the Windward Islands starting December 13th in Taruba, the 21-year-old cricketer says he will make the necessary adjustments to help meet the team's requirements.
I'll definitely just do my best for the team, first and foremost, whatever position I'd bat or having the wicketkeeper or anything like that. Once the team have me to do a job, I'll get it done.
Having finished at the bottom of the table last season, Jangu says his teammates are working towards changing things around in 2018-2019.
Obviously, we didn't have the best season last year, but I think that the guys are working so hard together and we're really gelling as a team, and that's really important going forward in the tournament and changing the outcome of our results.
Jangu has 4 half-centuries from 12 first-class games with a highest score of 96. He averages 30.42 with a bat.
And that's the sport. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing, Inc.
Shower in the evening or take a fresh at night. Enjoy a warm shower with Solar Dynamics, you feel alright. Comfort, safety, temperature guaranteed. Long service fulfilling your every need. Take a shower in comfort and no more upstream water touch you. Solar Dynamics is the best for you. Save on electricity, be environmentally friendly. Solar Dynamics is the one for you.
Again, the major development of this day, CARICOM leaders say they've developed an improved formula for ensuring the survival of the CSME. And in sport, Jamaica Scorpions get a new captain. That's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sport around the clock, subscribe to CarterNews.com. We'll be back here again tomorrow. But from all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching and do have yourselves a good night.